Tom Ork thinks wine writers will soon become an endangered species. I think all writers will soon become an endangered species. And we're going to talk about wine ratings, and then we're going to talk about wine ratings. And we'll talk about wine ratings some more as well. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, hello and welcome to episode 74 of This Week Uncorked for December 15th, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey. If you don't know about us, we're your number one source for Corkage fees, as well as wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and much, much more. And with that, let's get into this week's wine news. So if you don't know Tom Ork, he's got a Substack called Fermentation where he writes about wine. And he's got this one just caught me. He's got an article that's titled, How a Very Few Number of Humans Can Stay Employed as Wine Writers in the Age of AI. It's a mouthful, but basically he's arguing that, from 90% of the things that are being written about when it comes to wine, a computer can probably do it very easily as well. AI can. I'll read from the article here real quickly. I am convinced that people eventually and nonchalantly come to accept that the vast amount of written, spoken, and viewed material is created by machines and not human beings. This acceptance will come without much dissent, primarily because what is consumed through reading, listening, and watching will meet their needs for good information and entertainment. I think he might, quasi be onto something here. I will tell you that I built out a GPT model for wine reviews. But it's interesting because the prompt that I give this is exceptionally detailed. So it is 5 pages long of here's the tone that I write all my articles in from 200 articles I've written in the past that were put in there, and the tasting notes on the wine, and then a lot of detail on the winemaker and a lot of links, and just a ton. So basically all my research notes that go into, hey, I'm going to talk about this various bottle of wine are condensed into 5-6 pages and then put in there to spit it out in my format. And also ChatGPT 5 Pro, kind of the only way to go because you needed to do deep thinking to verify, check out various links, do various things, come back, have it rewrite it, get it the tone. I still then have to spend probably another half an hour rewriting it and massaging it to get it to be exactly the way I want it. But at the end of the day, it probably saves me maybe an hour an article. But for basic things that you see, like these wine reviews and a lot of these things, there's just not much there. It's like, here's some notes and here's the price and here's the ratings, and AI can write that pretty quickly and probably a lot better than a lot of humans can. But getting out of the wine altogether, we're seeing this across the board. The entire journalism field, writing, blogs. I mean, it's just AI gobbledygook is being generated across the board. Completely useless, but we're seeing it everywhere. And I think eventually Tom may be right. Probably 5% of the stuff you see out there will actually be written by a human, unaided in any way, shape, or form by AI. But we will see. All right. And the next story is going to kind of set the tone for the rest of the show. Wine ratings. And our first story comes from the drink business. And they're discussing how the Michelin guide is now going to be rating the world's wines. Sophie Arundel reports that they're expanding their reach once more. This time, they're going to create a global wine ranking system that Chairman Florent Menegau says will be more influential than Parker's, which is interesting because they actually own Wine Advocate. The Michelin bought it a while ago, so that's kind of crazy. So it's going to be more influential than Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. He's retired. Other people are rating the wines now. But they're going to build on their restaurant guides. They did the hotel a few years ago. They started that. So it's like, restaurants get stars, hotels get keys, which is kind of cool. I'm starting to see that pop up there. And they do have some influence So they're basically going to start rating wines. From the article, the move marks the latest step in Michelin's transformation from a printed restaurant guide to a global lifestyle authority. Over the past year, the company has begun rating hotels, introducing a key system in place of stars. At a ceremony this week, 1,742 hotels received a 1 key, 572 were awarded 2, and 143 achieved the top 3 key distinction, including the Connaught and the Savoy in London. Hey, why not? Another rating system. It's interesting, though. They're probably not going to do the 100-point system. And Jancis Robinson has got her 20-point scale, which in all honesty is probably a 5 or a 6-point scale. And the 100-point scale is really a 20-point scale, which is, kind of what Jancis was after anyway, but it always, things kind of float different ways. I don't know. I would say Jancis is actually probably maybe it's a 15-point scale. I don't know. Anybody seen a wine they're rated 5 or less? So this is going to be, what do we think? 1, 2, and 3 wine glasses? Is that what they're going to do? Or corks or something cute like that? I mean, because right now 3 is the best. So are they only going to rate wines if a wine gets 1 cork? That's a really big deal, because that's, 1 Michelin star is a big deal. 1 key for your hotel is a massive deal. So maybe a wine just that gets a rating, that means it must be superb. It's got a cork. You should try it. It's got 2 corks. It's got 3 corks. So basically, we're probably going to move into the, 95 point, 90, 94, 95 point, 96, 97, 98 point, and maybe the 100 point will be the 3 corks or wine bottles or whatever the heck they decide to. I've already called them corks. I don't know why. Cork and Journey, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, hats off to Michelin and their new wine rating system. Can't wait to see it. And then Robert Joseph, over at his Substack, has got a absolutely crack-up article. No shit. Why wine scores matter to wine. He argues that wine scores will remain a vital currency in the world of wine and the number of critics and all the stuff that goes into it. And that, scores really matter to consumers and to people buying wine. He's even got a great picture in there in the article of like this, it's a shelf at Costco or I don't know, at Trader Joe's or something. It's just all the wine scores are all over it. And I tend to agree. I think they're a great starting point, even for people who are into wine and are massive wine enthusiasts. If I see something like, and by the way, it's up to your critic. I was at a restaurant about 3-4 months ago, and I'm sitting there, and next to me is a gentleman, always brings his own bottle of wine. And he knows me from Cork and Journey. He always brings his own bottle of wine. And he loves Captain Hall. So he loves Hall. He's bringing in, and it's good wine. But he is a Robert Parker guy. And say what you want. That's a big red wine. It's going to have some oak on it. It's going to have wood. It's going to be what a Robert Parker wine is. That's what he likes. So if he sees a Robert Parker rating, he knows that he most likely is going to like that wine. And it might be a wine he's never tried before. And so he will buy that wine. You could say the same thing about Suckling, any of the people that are out there. You're like, man, I really align with this person's palate. Talking on the last show about Ian Cauble, he's got the Caubleist. His palate's all over the place. I mean, he likes all kinds of, so do I. But, if I'm going to try a grape variety I've never tried before, I really probably would trust him and his recommendation and his rating on something like that. Kermit Lynch, no ratings there, but if he's selling a wine, there's something behind it. And ratings, and depending on the person who's rating it, you got to trust what they're doing. And so I think there is something to wine ratings, whether you disagree with them or not, and the fact that it's become a very narrow window for most wines. And basically, it's 90 to 100 points, really. But anyway, forget what I said before. So from the article, here's one of my favorite parts. And yes, of course, we all know that some critics have become too generous, that there has been a general scoreflation, with some critics dishing out high numbers almost like confetti. And yes, there are conflicts of interest between awarding points and the organization of the same individuals of ticketed tastings in which only wines with a score of over 90 or whatever are allowed to participate. Haven't any of these experts ever been tempted to add a point or two to a wine whose producer will be sure to pay for a table at one of these events? Of course they have. But how many of the eligible wineries or eager attendees are complaining? This becomes the big problem. We talked about this with Ian Cauble on the interview, which is the link to down below. So he's selling a wine and he gives it a score. Is it influenced by that? Well, people think, oh, well, of course, he's got the wine on his store and he's given it a score. So that can't be unbiased, even though it probably would be. But there's a bunch of conflict around that. Love your opinion on scores and if they matter. To you anyway. And we'll wrap it up with the ultimate score card of all, which is usually every year, Wine Spectator's top 100 list. It's out. It's been out for a few weeks. Kind of interesting. I always like when this list comes out to watch some of the top YouTube wine guys kind of go through it, right? So Konstantin Baum, he tries to get as many as he can and he goes through them. Peter Neptune just reviewed the top one. You kind of get these wines and go through the list and see, hey, what's their opinion on it before I'm maybe going to go out and buy any of these things. But interesting, this list this year, they did something they did like a few years ago. Basically, the average price on this list is $58. And on the top 100 list, you got 34 wines that are $30 or less. So that's good. They went through 10,200 new releases. 5,500 of them scored 90 points or more. And anyway, it's pretty interesting list. Their number one is Chateau Giscors Margaux 2022 France Grand Cru, $68. They gave it 95 points. That's a reasonable price for Wine Spectator. I mean, Don Melchior last year is $170. That got the number one last year. Great wine. Interesting list. It's all over the map. You've got, a few in here. I think the United States in the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top 10. Then you got France, Italy, rounding out the rest of it. Chile is in there as well. So check out the list. That's the top 10. The top 100's there. The link's in the show notes, or just search, Wine Spectator's top 100. You will find it. Love to know what you think about it. But I do like that they went a little more. Some of these prices are actually reasonable and stuff that I think the average person would pay for. I think the most expensive in the top 10 is $170 coming out of Chile. So well worth checking out. With that, let's do our winery of the week. All right, let's go to London. Gordon's Wine Bar. Wow, what a cool place. If you are staying anywhere near County Hall by the Eye, it's literally just kind of across the way from there. It's old. It's been around since 1890. It has got some caves where you can taste wine in. You will need to duck. It's just a cool little kitschy wine bar. Wines are fine. The service is fine. It's just more of an experience than anything else. You kind of want to go to, hey, here's the oldest wine bar in London, and I want to check it out. And it's right near the Embankment. Can't miss it. Worth it. There's really the price range for a tasting is $40 to $60, but you can just as easily come in, get some snacks, buy a bottle. They got a nice wine list, share a bottle, go through it. Anyway, Gordon's Wine Bar, 5 stars. Reservations are required. You can usually get them same day, but worth doing that. And you can just walk in most of the time you can. But if you want to make sure you get there, do that. They also have outdoor seating as well as that inside in the cave. If you're claustrophobic, you might say, because man, it's cramped and you're down in there. So, check that out. All right. And then we're going to go from London to Texas for our wine of the week. And it's the Siboney Cellars Merlot. This is actually, yes, the Stormbreaker Merlot. Really, really interesting wine. We'll have Freddie kind of put a shot of this label up. That was an actual photograph that was taken while they were harvesting this thing up in the high plains. Decent wine, 92 points, $36. Can't go wrong. Probably going to cover something recently around some Texas stuff that came up as well. The region is booming. Siboney is one of those places you will check out. Siboney, Calais, Ron, Yates. These guys are doing some really interesting stuff up there. So Siboney Merlot, $36, 92 points. It's a Merlot. You can't go wrong. Very drinkable, tasty. All right. And with that, let's move on to our restaurant, Corkage of the Week. Cheers. If you are in London and you are seeing the Phantom of the Opera, which has been there for, I don't know, a long time, still going in the same theater. It's changed because it was the Queen's Theater. Now it's the King's Theater, because the King. Phantom production was amazing. Phantom, we saw it. And you can just walk right across the street to Steak and Company. Cool little place. Kind of like hibachi, basically. Order your steak, cook it in front of you. It's nice. Comes with butters and salts and sauces, and you kind of do your own thing. It's London, so food's going to be London quality food for the most part. But no, it was fine. And we're checking out. A little pricey. We gave it 4 stars, but man, fun little day. Cut up your meat, cook it on a hot stone, eat your food, enjoy it. You're there. You just got out of the theater, or before you go to we saw a matinee, so we had dinner afterwards, but yeah, you could go before and then go see it. Anyway, Steak and Company London. If you're down on the West End, there might be better choices, but that's where we went. So I'm going to tell you, it's okay. Go there if you feel like it. All right, that's going to wrap up this edition of This Week Uncorked. As always, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on your social media platform, your favorite podcast app, all those kind of things. And hey, check out that interview with Ian Cauble that we just recently did. It is worth a look. Until next week, everybody. Cheers.